Hi, my name is Kendra Ward, and I am a co-founder of unboXt. unboXt is a software that takes employee feedback and turns that into actionable recommendations for direct managers. Some of our customers are YWCA, Comcast, Amazon, and UPS, to name a few. People and operation leaders today are facing the same challenge, engaging and retaining staff. But we all know people leave people. So this would imply that the employee experience and retention efforts are won or lost at the team level. unboXt works in 3 steps. First, everyone on the team creates a profile, which takes 4 minutes. Through profile creation, the system is able to understand the individual's motivation, the factors that can affect an individual's morale, and uncovers team values. Next, each direct manager sets a digital check-in cadence of daily, weekly, or monthly. Each digital check-in is personalized to the individual. This enables us to capture the level of satisfaction of each team member's holistic employee experience. The digital check-in takes on average 30 seconds to 2 minutes to complete. Finally, we take that data and we convert it into actionable insights and recommendations for the direct team leader to act on. We see a 93% adoption rate for unboXt. Leaders are 12% more effective, and effectiveness is a measure of team motivation, morale, and trust. And organizations see a 10 to 20% decrease in voluntary employee turnover. Thank you so much for your time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Hakeem, or feel free to go visit our website, getunboxed.com, and fill out a contact us form. Thank you so much.
Hey, Hakeem, welcome to the stage. Great presentation from Kendra, your co-founder. And so let's get right to it. So, most C-suite leaders rank talent development and retention as a top focus point. And I can tell you that is a key issue that SHRM members are dealing with. So what makes unboXt different from, all the other surveying, employee voice, or engagement tools that are out there? Maybe you can, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, Guillermo, I want to say thank you to you and the entire SHRMLabs team. You guys have put on a fantastic accelerator for us and other 6 founders or 5 founders. And so I want to say first, thank you for you all and everyone who's joined and stuck around this far. But going into your question of what makes unboXt different, ultimately it's around how we go about collecting the experience of your employees and then converting that into real-time feedback and recommendations for your frontline managers. Look, guys, engagement is the thing of the past. First, you have to capture the experience of your team members, and that can mean very different person to person. So for us, it's about understanding what someone wants out of an experience, being able to personalize their digital check-ins that takes on average 30 seconds to complete, and then providing their direct managers. Where you talk about engagement, where you talk about retention efforts, that's won or lost at the team level. And so that real-time feedback of telling a manager, instead of saying, hey, your team's demotivated, disengaged, telling them why and providing them with an actionable tip in a moment to be able to keep that person engaged and making sure that they're having a great experience. And I think that's what makes unboXt different than anything other tools out there.
Great. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the organizations that you work with, and ideally who's your target, or who's a good company for unboXt.
Awesome. Well, you're going to hear from one of those rock star companies in a moment. So maybe they can talk a little bit about their experience. But the first thing I'll say is that we built unboXt for teams, right? For us is that we want to focus on the team dynamic. When you talk about trust, communication, everyone touts an open door policy, but what good is an open door if the person doesn't feel comfortable walking through that door and having a conversation? So for us, we work with very large organizations, and we focus on hourly workers, because for us, we also built unboXt for impact. And so when you talk about a lot of these large multinational organizations and the business impact that they're hoping to see, it's really at that hourly level. That's where they're seeing turnover. We heard Wayfair talk earlier today where she talked about some of her early employees, frontline managers, that they were losing them in their facilities. Those are the hourly workers. And so if you could think back to when you first were a manager, right? You were a great producer, and then now you're in a position where you're managing people, and now you're a leader. That's a challenge. And so at unboXt, that's who we're hoping to support as we continue to scale. So we're focused on large organizations, but ones with a high density of hourly workers.
Would you say that it's fair to label unboXt as a leadership development tool or solution that helps companies develop their next crop of leaders?
Absolutely. When you think about leadership development, traditionally sits over here. It's typically for high potential or employees. Then you have engagement and the employee experience that sits over here. unboXt is that bridge, right? So because your leaders within your organization, that's really what's going to drive the engagement and the ultimate experience and retention efforts that you have within your organization. So unboXt is the bridge between the two ecosystems.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's hear directly from one of your customers. So please help me in welcoming to the stage Rhonda Whitted, Human Resources Director at UPS. Rhonda, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to be here. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about your initial impressions with unboXt, and did you believe it would work?
So I always smile because Hakeem still laughs at me about this. We're a very fast-paced company. Our frontline supervisors have a ton of daily tasks to do, let alone have time for surveys and employee experience and all that kind of stuff. But when they came in, they did a very, very good presentation, very exciting presentation, but I honestly did not feel it would work. I just didn't feel like people would take the time to do a check-in monthly, let alone weekly or daily. But they did. They came in, they became quickly a part of the team. And so it was very easy. The check-in process was very quick. It's 30 seconds, on average. And I found that they got a huge adoption rate. So over 90% of the folks in the facility voluntarily signed up, and it helped them increase their communication because they were checking in daily.
Fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about what you were hoping to accomplish with unboXt? Once you made that decision to, we're going to bring unboXt in, what was it that you were hoping to accomplish? And what do you think the impact has been for UPS?
So our main goal was to improve our turnover numbers. We had done a lot of research in the area. We knew we had the right wage rate, but we were still losing folks. And it's the old adage, people leave a company for the person that they necessarily work for. So we've got a very young workforce of frontline supervisors that communicate via text or very, very limited verbal interaction. So we were trying to help in building the relationship part of it. And that's what unboXt was able to come in and help us do. With these quick check-ins, people could talk about their morale or how they were feeling for the day. And even they helped us resolve a lot of issues that we may not have otherwise found out of because our folks weren't having those conversations.
Fantastic. It's so interesting that you just brought up, the reason why people are leaving, because 3-4 years ago, we actually came out with research that shows that 58% of people leave their employer because of a bad manager. So it's clearly having manager or better managers out there is definitely going to help out on the retention side of things. Excellent. Any last words that you can think of, in regards to unboXt and some of the changes that you've seen, or and any other insights that you can think of to provide our audience?
Yeah, very, very excited about the changes. They come in and it made it seem like a team environment, which is what we were striving for. And they just made it fun. So we strive to make this a better place to work. And that's what they came in and helped us do.
Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Rhonda, for being here. We greatly appreciate you taking the time. All right.
Thank you very much for the invite.
So, Hakeem, for the audience that's out there, how is it that they can get connected with unboXt and with you and the team and find out more about unboXt?
Yeah, so the first ways I'll say is that there's a form on our website, but you can go to getunboxed.com. I just dropped it in the chat. So if you click on that link, you could go in, you can fill out a small report to just say what you're looking to achieve. One of our representatives will reach out to you, or you can reach out to myself personally at Hakeem, HAKEEM.Isaac, ISAAC at getunboxed.com.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, Hakeem. We greatly appreciate you.